Bum 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 bum. But bum 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 ba dum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hi friends, I just looked over and saw Sam Hahnemann face down in my stationery box. Hi, Bob, Deb. Hey from Michigan. Hi, folks. Howdy from Texas. Howdy from Oakville. So nice to see everyone. So it is Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and this is what we do every Monday night, isn't it, friends? We get together and we get to maybe chuckle here and there, and we learn homeopathy, and we stay tight with the group because this is a great group that follow this Monday night presentation. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Joette Calabrese. But for those who do know me, hi, friends. It's great to see you all. Love having you here with me. Let's see. Yes, hi. Hello from Vancouver. I like to see where everyone's from. It really makes it extra fun. Hi from Japan. Happy Monday evening, says Jill. St. Louis, hello everyone. It's great to see a lot of Canadians. Bob and Deb, hi, nice to see you. Susie B from the Exumas. Oh, Susie. Oh, it was nice watching you today. Hi from Jersey. Them boys and girls from Oklahoma say hi. Howdy from Toronto, says Alice. My old friends, nice to see you all. So tonight we're going to talk about a practical way to turn your friends and family on to practical homeopathy. And so it's not only just for them, friends, it really is for you too, because the more people you turn on to homeopathy, practical homeopathy, especially because classical homeopathy is just over the top. But this is very doable, even for chronic conditions. It's one of the best methods to treat chronic conditions, common and even uncommon chronic conditions. So the idea is that when you turn someone on to this, then it makes your life easier. So generally because it's someone you know or someone you love or someone you're close to. And then when you need help, they're there for you. Not to mention that there's this wonderful camaraderie amongst people who have the same interests. And since we are a rather small group comparatively to the rest of, compared to those who adhere to conventional medicine, it makes it more pleasant to be around people who think like you in many ways. But then there are those times when there are those who around us who don't think that way. So this is my practical hint. Think first, really think about who you hang out with, who you might be in touch with. Are we talking about your neighbors? Are we talking about relatives? Are we talking about church mates? Are we talking about friends in the golf club or wherever it might be? Kind of isolate those people and look at each one of those groups. Generally, we are involved in approximately on a day-to-day basis, maybe 3-4 groups, right? Neighbors, family, friends in general. And then maybe an organization, a club, or church or something like that. And then there are offshoots of that as well. Now think about what these people suffer from. Each group has generally a different demographic, right? I mean, our families could be grandchildren who are babies, or our children, or teenagers. If it's your a young family, then we're talking about obviously your own children, but you're not turning your own children onto this necessarily because they're part of your world. They're already enveloped in your world. But your children's friends, parents, that group. What are each of these demographics? And now think about the kind of conditions that demographic generally suffers from. Now, you don't have to have 5 different definitions. You don't have to have 5 different conditions or even 10 conditions. What you really need is to find a couple of homeopathic medicines, a couple of homeopathic protocols that most people will find useful, and then a couple, maybe 1 or 2 for each of those demographics. Let me give you an example. The other night, well, actually it was a couple weeks ago, Perry and I went out to dinner with an old friend, and he's had a lot of pain since an automobile accident and the subsequent surgeries. A couple of the surgeries were not only not successful, but they were more harmful than they were of any value. So now he's in chronic pain. And so chronic pain, think about that. Joint pain, back pain. He's in his 80s, and he's really exhausted by what the doctors are always telling him to do. They want to do more surgery, and he's now saying that's just not going to be an option any longer. He's not taking any more chances. So when I think of him and a couple of other, because of my age group, I think of my friends, my older friends, who are just about a decade older than I am. I think of those kinds of things: joint pains, back pain, muscle pains, etc. And so the medicines that I automatically think of, if it's a milder version of pains, then I think of, even if it's not, but I often can include arnica. So easy, right? Arnica. But this friend is in extreme pain. In fact, he described it when we picked him up for dinner, that his pain was a 9.6. Now, some people, change that have a different idea of what the kind of pain is that they're experiencing, or because they're suffering so much all day long, it feels like it's a heavy burden. And to them, it feels like a 9.6. But my friend, because I always think if I were a 9.6 out of 10, I'd be flat out in bed crying. He wasn't, though. He was willing to go out to dinner. Now, you could see he was suffering. There's no doubt he was in pain. His eyes were bloodshot. His face was pale when we picked him up. He really didn't look well enough to go out, but he somehow mustered it up. And his subjective number was 9.6. So what I did was I waited until we got into the restaurant, and he sat right next to me. We were in a banquet, so he sat right next to me. And I got out my Hypericum 1M. I turned it upside down, and I twisted it, emptied the pills into the cap, held them up, and he knew to open his mouth, because I'd been giving him medicines for years on and off. But I've never actually put them in his mouth. And he opened up his mouth like a little baby bird, and I poured them in his mouth. So it was 5 pills of Hypericum 1M. About 5 minutes later, I did it again. I never said anything. He knew what I was doing. Poured it in, and he still uses, conventional meds to help reduce his pain, which doesn't really work so well for him. And I put it to his mouth. He lifted his head, tilted his head back. I poured it in his mouth, and he took it again. And I gave him Hypericum 1M every 15 minutes, maybe even every 10 minutes. I think I gave him 5 doses before the water came, and then bread came to the table, etc., etc. And I kept administering it to him. I never said, "So, how's it going?" I never said, "How are you feeling?" I never said anything. That night, we drove him home, and he knows how to get this medicine. I've told him many times. I've dropped it off to his house. I don't think he's actually ever really done it. I don't really know. But I don't want to get into that, because he's a friend. He's not my client. He's not my student. He doesn't have the same curiosity as a client or a student has generally. But I wanted to do it just quietly, nonchalantly, with ease, without any fanfare. And so I waited. When I got home that night, and when we got home, he texted me and he said, "I'm a 5.2! Exclamation point. Half. Basically half. Half the pain in because of those 5 doses of Hypericum 1M. Now he knows, and I left the bottle with him. I just put it in his pocket and never said anything. Now let me say, my friends, that it's very hard that when we love this medicine so much because we've seen such dramatic shifts in ourselves, our children, our family members, our pets, our livestock, that it's best to do it with sprezzatura. Sprezzatura, it's one of my favorite words. It's an Italian word, no kidding. That means effortless grace. An act of making something difficult look easy. My friends, you know how many years I've studied homeopathy? Do you know how long it's taken me to know what to give? Well, because I started out in classical homeopathy, it took me an awfully long time. It was laborious. And it never looked effortless because I was ready to pull my hair out most of the time. But with this information and using practical homeopathy where we have actual protocols, and it makes it so much easier, and we have less fear of repeating a medicine because we know it's needed, we can do it with sprezzatura. So there, my friends, is the perfect example of how this is the best way to do it. You simply have it in your pocket. Now, how did I know to have it in my pocket for him? Because I know him. But let's say instead I was going to lunch with my friends, and I do every once in a while. We go out maybe, a few times a year. I'm looking forward to something coming up in Buffalo with my friends. And I know that my age friends are going to have generally one of two things. One is going to be arthritis, even if it's mild osteoarthritis, and then the other might be some kind of gut issue. So I will have in my pocket the remedies for those conditions. So what will I use? What will I carry with me? Now, these are not friends who use homeopathy generally. I have helped them using homeopathy, and they've been gracious and very thankful for it. But they don't study it. It's not like they're not here tonight. They're not following me. They appreciate what I do, but they're not students of homeopathy. So I will have my Rhus Tox 200, maybe even a 1M, in my pocket. And if they talk about, when they get up, I will say, here, open your mouth. And I don't even have to say it. I'll just hold it, turn it upside down, hold it there, and they'll open their mouths, and I'll give it to them. And then sometimes we'll see a shift even in short order, like I did with our friend a couple of weeks ago. And then I will leave the bottle with them. Yes, you just have to own it. You have to own it and be willing to give it out. If they're talking about gut issues, let's say bloating or something like that, or constipation, then I'll likely pull out Nux vomica. Why not lycopodium, which is what we often use for bloating, that we know is our protocol? Because some of my friends still use conventional drugs. And if they're using conventional drugs and they have gut issues, Nux vomica is such an easy way to slip them into it. Now, will my friend from 2 weeks ago become a student? Will he ask for more help? Maybe, maybe not. But how can I not do this? And how can I not potentially shift someone's life? Now, he had a friend with him, actually it's his caretaker, I should say, had dinner with us. He was watching the whole event. And he said, "What is that?" And I said, "Homeopathy." And then I changed the subject. We went on to something else. We were talking about his home and what he was doing with it, etc. Effortless grace, the act of making something difficult look easy. Sprezzatura. Now, if you're friends, if you're a young mother and you have friends that you're going to be meeting up with, and you know that they have young children, especially children who are around the teething age, what would I have in my pocket then? Chamomilla. Chamomilla. Not 30, not 6, 200. And that baby is cantankerous or difficult or frustrated and happens also to be teething. I'm going to put that chamomilla in that baby's mouth, of course, with the mother's permission. Do you mind if I use this? Chamomilla, 200 seeds. No, I don't mind at all. Open it up, put it in the baby's mouth. Or if it's a baby that is not really chewing very well quite yet, they're still getting just their early teeth, then we might put a little bit of water and let it dissolve and give the baby tablespoons of it. What if your group of people that you spend time with are all young athletes? They're boys or even girls, and they do a lot of let's say ice skating in the winter. And you know that with ice skating come falls and strained muscles. The fall is going to be, we're going to have arnica in our pocket. So if you're sitting there watching your children practice hockey or ice skating or whatever they happen to be doing, sledding, it's still winter in Buffalo, sort of. Or wherever they in a playground, they're playing basketball, whatever they're doing, you're going to have arnica in your pocket. And you might also have net sulf in a high potency in case there's a severe head injury. My friends, have the medicines. Plan a little bit in ahead. Have the medicines in your pocket with you, ready for when the event occurs. Years ago, my cousin, who I was a medical doctor, and he was in the hospital, and I went in to see. I can't remember. Someone was in the hospital. I think it was my father was at a stay in the hospital. And we're talking 25 years ago, so I don't really remember. But my cousin met me in the waiting room, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted." He said, "I've been up all night long." He was an OBGYN. I've been up all night long with births, and then I did a whole day's worth of rounds, and I am exhausted. I just happened to have in my pocket, and this is something I would change today. I might not consider this medicine, but it works so beautifully. I happen to have Calc Phos 6X in my pocket because at the time my children were young, and I was using it for them. Just for general growth, etc. And I said, "Here." I opened it up, poured it in the cap. He trusted me. I poured it in his mouth, and he had to leave and go off and tend to a patient. And when he came back to the waiting room where I was sitting, he said, "What was that? I feel completely revived. After not having any sleep and working all day, and now it's 8 o'clock at night the next day. What was that?" So I wrote it down for him. I don't know if he ever used it. My guess is he didn't. So my friends, this is how we do it. You can talk to them and tell them about it till you're blue in the face. They have to experience it, just like you had to experience. Just like you. Yes, it was Calc Phos 6X. Yes, it was. And so we can keep it. We could keep this up. You're going to a wake, and I always take Ignatia 200 to wakes. I come from a big family. There was always someone who's just passed away, and I brought a couple of bottles of that. Sometimes I never gave it out. Sometimes I gave it out. Ignatia 200C. Open your mouth. Here, let me just put this in your mouth. There are so many opportunities to treat people without a lot of fanfare. No description. It's just homeopathy. What does it do? Well, let's see if it helps you. No explanation. Don't even go that far as an explanation. Nonchalant ease in how one appears or acts. Sprezzatura. In an airport years ago, I was in Dubai, and there was a family, a husband and a wife and a baby, and the baby was screaming. They didn't speak English, and I didn't speak their language. I don't know what their language was, but the baby was screaming. So I had my kit with me, and I showed it. I walked up to them, and I showed them the kit, and then I opened it up, and I showed them the medicines, and then I took out belladonna, and I said, "Yes, give it to the baby, yes." So I poured some of it into the cap. I didn't put it directly in the baby's mouth. I put it in a little piece of paper that I had folded, and I said, "Here, into the mouth and the baby." And they did it. They took it. I never knew whether or not belladonna helped that baby. It was likely an ear infection when a child screams that much, or it could have been colic. But the baby didn't have her legs all bunched up. My guess is it was an ear infection. And they were very grateful. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," without those exact words, but you could tell that they were thankful. And I don't know if that medicine helped them. I really don't know. Help the baby. But how can you not when you see human suffering? We don't know what to do? Yes, we do, my friends. We know what to do. And so my next tip is, if you don't think of it in advance, keep your kit in the car. I can't tell you the number of times that Perry and I have gone to a party or a gathering or a restaurant or something, and someone's is suffering, and I say, honey, would you mind getting the kit from the car? And he runs down and gets the kit for me, brings it up. I put it directly in the person's mouth, and I also put it in a little envelope. In the old days, homeopathy was not in pills, it was in powders. And so you'd have to know how to fold a little paper so it's like an envelope, to pour the powders into the envelope and then close it up properly. And then on the outside, you write the name of the medicine. And I don't like to get too detailed. If they really are interested and they know me, then they can always contact me. If they're not that interested, maybe it'll help for that moment. No problem. Let's just do what we need to do and take it from there. So let's see what some of your questions are, shall we? Okay. Joe, my husband suddenly couldn't walk, says Chai Chai. Doctor called it new normal after tests. I know you can't see him, but I am looking for a great homeopath like you that the trick is to get the meds right, otherwise not work. Please help. Okay. My friends, let me first tell you that there are graduates from our academy. and if you key in, I'm going to ask whoever's with me tonight from my staff, I don't know if it's Natalie or whoever it is, to write in the graduates who have graduated from our academy who are in practice. That's one way to do it. Another way is to go to the Prasanta Banerjee Memorial Clinic and check them out. They will be able to help probably a great deal. He's 81. Okay, she keeps going. And got COVID twice since. He did have a bad shake in walking, but suddenly in December 9th, he stopped walking and peeing for himself, his bowels. Well, you will need the help of a good homeopath. You're absolutely right, Chai Chai. Okay, replying to, people are helping each other. Yes, Cheris says, hi, Cheris, chamomilla for baby and maybe sepia for mom. That's right. Arnica Montana, says Deanna. Absolutely. I got to see a dramatic improvement from 2 doses of aconitum 30 for a friend suffering agonizing chronic insomnia and fear due to benzodiazepine dependency syndrome. I said nothing as she relaxed and was able to fall asleep within 10 minutes of the second dose. Nice job, Alice. Nice job. Yep. Jen says arnica and ruta. He is also so we're going dementia, etc. Yes, Chai Chai, there's going to be information here for you. We lost our housing commission house because it's not wheelchair access. Okay. Okay. Well, those two suggestions could be of great use to you. Let's see. My shoulder is bone on bone. Please help. I don't want surgery. Listen to me with bone on bone. I have seen people who have bone on bone. It sounds so dramatic now, doesn't it? Because you're in pain and you went to the doctor says bone on bone. My guess is the doctor wants you to have surgery, right? If he says, you're just, why don't you change your diet a little bit? Why don't you not eat inflammatory foods like wheat? No. Bone on bone, my dear, because if the doctor says it's bone on bone, you will be more likely to go for surgery. But I will tell you that homeopathy has been known, and I've seen it a number of times, that even bone on bone, the pain dissolves away with the homeopathic medicine. Now, I'm not going to tell you which medicine to use, but I am going to tell you to go to Joette Calabre's. I think I've got something on shoulder pain. I might have something on frozen shoulder. I realize it's not really frozen shoulder. And also Joette Calabre's tendons, and start looking at those. Or you can go to joettecalabres.com and go scroll down into my courses, and I have an entire course dedicated to just how to treat all measures of pain. My little guy has enlarged adenoids and tonsils with fluid in his ears. What could help him? He is 6 and has allergies, pollen. I'm going to tell you to do exactly the same thing. Go to Joette Calabres enlarged tonsils, Joette Calabrese, and look up courses that I've got specifically for. The title of one of the courses is called Alternative to Antibiotics, or Antibiotic Alternative. That's exactly where. And then another course I've got is called Allergic. I just joined live, so I apologize. Off topic. Recommendations for perimenopause, not menstruating since January, get hot flashes. Joette Calabrese hot flashes. Go to my blog, my friends. I've been authoring this blog for 14 years. I think it's 15 years now. Every Sunday night, I have a condition that I teach you about and what medicines to use that are specific for it. Okay. Do you have a list of the remedies that you carry with you in your car? No, I don't have an actual list. I keep aconite in my purse, but I have a kit in my car. I actually have 2 kits. So I have a 200 potency kit and a 30th potency kit. Whatever kit you can afford, I keep it right under the passenger's seat. I continue to help my little nephew with Crohn's, but my niece is still resistant. I just love, and every once in a while I suggest remedies for something other than that, like colds, etc. But she just wants something that works right away to know that it would really work. Well, there are medicines, these homeopathic medicines that work right away. It was just described by someone just a moment ago. That within a few minutes, her friend, who was that? Was that I'm looking back up here. Maybe it was Alice. Yes, it was Alice, who was talking about her friend who was given aconitum, and it was immediate. Now, let me also tell you that treating colds and flus and coughs are some of the hardest things to treat homeopathically. If you can start with cold calm, which is really great combination medicine made by boron, or you could use aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30 every 15 minutes, which is a Banerjee protocol, and then you might see some quick results. So what I say is, when you're dealing with your niece, don't say, oh, I know the medicine. I don't. Just do as I just said. Do it with nonchalance. No explanation, no fanfare, with sprezzatura. The more you say, the more people can often be resistant. So just make it super easy. If you go to see your niece and your nieces and nephews and they're sick, just go over there with cold calm made by boron or aconitum bryonia, and just would it be okay if we tried this, and let's see what happens. And if they fall asleep, then things are moving along. Still getting used to the new format. Love your blog. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's every Sunday night. I published it last night. I published about the bee sting that I got, and some people wrote into me and said, well, wait a minute, I thought apis was for bee stings. And I made it clear that apis is a very good medicine for bee stings, but so is ledum, so is carbolic acid, so can calendula be. There are other medicines. I'm just trying to teach you those that are the most common. I just wanted to share an experience that I just now had with homeopathy, says Thomas. I spent the day on a stepladder and was in extreme pain and could no longer continue. Janice gave me a remedy called Bell's Paranis. Oh, yes. Yeah. Bellus Paranis. It's called Bellus Paranis. And within a few minutes, the pain had eased. I got back on my feet and worked for a couple of more hours. Thank you very much, Joanne, for all that you have taught us. Joette, yeah. Yeah, listen, it's Bellus Paranis is the second medicine to arnica. What I mean by that is when it's a soft tissue injury, or it's a, like if the car seat is across the chest and the car stops suddenly, it can cause an injury to the breasts. We can use arnica or we can use Bellus Paranis. Either one of those can be very useful. So it's a wonderful medicine that's very closely related to arnica. Your teaching has changed my life, says Tiffany. Oh, I'm so glad to hear. I helped someone with confidence almost everywhere I go now because of you and my study group. The information is so valuable. Thank you, Joette. You are very welcome, Tiffany. I love to hear those stories. Okay, you're helping each other. I like to see that. Let's see what else we've got here. I am studying Spanish right now to teach gateways. Oh, yes, Noreen, I love it. I love that you're doing that. And Noreen and I are the same age, so you can start anything at our age in your 70s. Yeah, why not? We want to stay curious and involved and interested forever, till the very end, my friends. I just read recently about a woman who lived to the age, her name was Laura. She was in France, and she lived to be 129. Yes, I know we have to finish up. And so she is the longest lived person. She died in the 90s. She's the longest living person on record, which we have the actual birth date and the death date. So it's interesting. I think that we can live a lot longer than we ever thought we could, as long as we can stay away from those synthetics. It's the synthetics in life that cause the most trouble, my friends. The synthetic food, the synthetic clothes, the synthetic drugs of commerce, the synthetics. Keep it to a purr and not to a roar. And so I'm going to dash off tonight. I won't be meeting with my mighties. I'm sorry. We'll do that. No, you can meet with I can? Oh, I can meet with my mighties? Oh, I can do it. I can meet with my mighties. Okay. That's right. I don't start till 9:15. Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye. Good night to the rest of you. And I'm going to meet with my mighties and answer more questions. Wonderful to stay on. Okay.